Hello, all. So it is Asexual Awareness Week from October the 26th all the way till November the 1st. There's probably going to be quite a few videos posted on YouTube and general news sites and stuff like that, just trying to spread general awareness. And I know even the Asexual Visibility Network is going to be trying its hardest to spread some awareness in that. So I figured there will be quite a couple of videos with more bare information than my kind. So I've decided not to go over the basics of asexuality, not to explain what it's about, not to do any of that, because I figure there'll be plenty of other better videos talking about it. No, instead, I've decided to, each day of Asexual Awareness Week, I'm going to do a video covering a different controversial topic of asexuality. These are the controversial subjects that no other channel will touch. I'm touching them a lot. Like crazy. So, our first controversial. This is the controversial week of asexuality. Our first controversial topic that we're going to discuss is discrimination. Is asexuality actually discriminated against? Or are we all just whining crybabies? Okay, so there is definitely a little bit of the typical discrimination. Swank Ivy is a big poster on YouTube, and she has a whole channel dedicated to what you would expect discrimination to be. She set up a account on the site OkCupid, and she's gotten a couple of very harassing comments, and also in real life she's gotten a couple of rather harassing comments about her sexuality. Stuff like, why don't you just try sex? Why don't you just do me? Why do you reproduce rebutting? You're lying. That trash is made up. What you would expect, she's heard, and other people have heard it too. But of course, you don't really hear too much about that because we're mostly unknown. And some asexuals will never bump into that because a lot of people just haven't heard of us. So a lot of people aren't bad by default. So a few will run into that hard. A lot of us won't run into that at all. But there is another form of discrimination, and this we all face, the asexual community very much so. And it's not what you would think. It's not what's seen as normal discrimination. It is simply ignorance. It is simply us being ignored. It's that, and it's only that. All asexuality is that you don't find others sexually attractive. That's it. But you can still find people romantically attractive. You can still have a high sex drive. There's still a lot of stuff that you can be. But since asexuality is so little talked about, most people have barely heard about it. They've heard about it, but very little. So if you're asexual, but you still have a sex drive or still feel attraction in some sense, and you hear about asexuality, but only lightly, you might not realize you're asexual, and that's where this ignorance, being ignored, kind of comes into play. Because if you are asexual but you don't know it, you can feel alone, you can feel isolated, you know you're different but you don't know how. It can cause you to rush into relationships that, of course, end up blowing up in your face because you don't know what you want. So not knowing what you are can cause a lot of issues. Another issue that ignorance causes, of course, is after you find out you're asexual, a lot of asexuals do like dating, want to find partners. But there's this big concern that their partner that they end up with will not accept their sexuality and might respond badly to it, and might dump them. Or be a jerk, and that's a big concern because chances are their partner that they end up dating hasn't heard very much about asexuality either. Would have to hear all of it for the very first time. A lot to take in, and it's a genuine concern of, will I find someone accepting of the fact that I'm different? And a lot of groups, pretty much every group that's been discriminated against goes through stages. There's the ignorance stage, and that's the first stage. That's where we are right now. We're in the very first stage. Back in the 1920s, like way back when the gay community, they weren't as vocal as they are now. They were completely ignored. You couldn't talk about it. They broke out of that stage, and then they got heavily discriminated against, but they still broke out of the ignorance stage. So there's the ignorance stage, and then you break out of that, then you get into the heavy discrimination stage because everybody finds out about you and everybody starts hating you. And then you get into fighting back and starting to be accepting, but still discriminated. Then you get to almost accepted, and everybody thinks you're not discriminated anymore, even though you technically still are. And then, do you ever get past that? I don't know. I don't know of any group that was really heavily discriminated that got completely better by the end. I don't know if that was ever pulled off. But yeah, there's kind of these stages, and we're kind of in this first one, heavy ignorance. And so we're not heavily like hated, but no one knows about us. So that's not too good either. So the best way to fight this form of discrimination is just to spread awareness. So if you've seen this video and you enjoyed it, share it. And if you know what asexuality is, tell other people about it. That helps a lot more than you'd think. So yeah, we're discriminated, but not in the ways that you would expect. But it is harmful in its own right. So that's our first controversial topic. Join me tomorrow where we take on a new one and eat cake. Yum!